Hey everyone, welcome to lesson 3.2, function notation. So function notation is where you take y and you replace it with f of x. Okay, so instead of having an equation that's like y equals 2x plus 3, you're going to have f of x equals 2x plus 3. Okay, so it looks a little more complicated because there's parentheses and stuff, but it's pretty much the same thing. And what we're going to do today is find values using function notation. So for instance, in this example up here, f of -2 would be, let's take a look really quick. See how the only difference is that x has become -2? Well, you do the same thing on the other side. X becomes -2. And then you're going to plug that into a calculator. So you're going to do 2 times -2, which is -4 plus 3. So basically we end up with f of -2 equals -1. And that's the answer. And for this whole function, f of -2 is always -1. This is also just the same thing as saying that there's a point -2, -1. Okay? You are plugging the number that is in the parentheses in for x, like this, to find out what the y value is. Okay? So basically it's going to give you x, and your job is to find y. So given the x value, find y by plugging it in. Okay, so I call this the GLADE lesson. Plug it in, plug it in. So what we're going to do in example 1, for instance, is, hey, there's another -2. We're going to take -2 and plug it in for x. Okay? And I'm always going to start with this part down here like this for you. And then what you have to do is write the equation, but instead of an x, write the number in parentheses like this. It goes in parentheses over here, so it's going in parentheses over there. If you do not use parentheses, then it's going to get kind of confusing. So I want to do this in 2 ways really quick. The first way is I'm going to tell you what this actually means. So when you square a number, you're multiplying it by itself. -2 times -2 happens to be 4. So this is really 3 times 4 minus 5. 3 times 4 is 12. 12 minus 5 should be 7. Here's how you can type it into your calculator too. And you have this calculator on your Chromebook. You just have to go to the bottom left of your screen and click Apps. Okay, and what you're going to do is 3, and then there's parentheses buttons above 8 and 9. And then the squared button is right here, kind of diagonal from the 7. Minus 5. There you go. Then we're going to do the same thing over here, but now guess what? It's g of x. That's okay. We can change this letter out front to give you a new equation. So we can change it to h or j, k, m, n, z, y, x. Actually, we're not going to use x or y because that's kind of confusing since x and y are already part of graphs. A, b, c, any letter you want, okay, except x and y. So over here, g of x equals this. That's just so that you know that this 3 is getting plugged into this one and not this one, because this one was f of x. Okay, and then coming over here, 3 is going to get plugged in for the x next to the 7. So really, it's 7 times 3 minus 11. 7 times 3 is 21. 21 minus 11 is 10. Or 7 parentheses 3 parentheses minus 11. Same thing. Okay, and then it says use f of x and g of x above to find f of -2 plus g of 3. You want to find the value of this and the value of this and add them. Well, we already did the work, guys. F of -2 is 7 plus g of 3 is 10. And 7 plus 10 is 17. If you hadn't already done these, here's what you would do. You would take -2 and you would plug it in up here and get your answer 7. Then you would take 3, plug it in over here, and get your answer 10. And then you would add them. You would just have to do these two parts as part of this problem instead of having done them already. All right. So now we have three functions, h, j, and k. And the first one asks you to find h plus j of x. Now this is not times x, this is the variable. All you have to do is add h and j. So h is 7x plus 15, plus j, which is -2x plus 9. You just have to make sure your x's and your constants line up. And then just add them together, guys. 7x plus -2x is 5x. 15 plus 9 is 24. Okay, and then over here to the side, I'm going to write h plus j of x equals. So that we know what we just found. I know it's listed right here too, but it makes more sense to write it right here. Okay, so you just follow the operation. Like for instance on this one, it says k of x minus h of x. Well, k of x is 5x minus 3 minus h of x, which is 7x plus 15. Okay, I'm going to put that in parentheses though, because we are subtracting this whole thing. What I normally do with this is I make this a -1 and I multiply it like this. So that's going to make it -7x and -15. And then I'm going to combine my like terms. 5x plus -7x is -2x. And -3 plus -15, think of that like adding the two numbers. It's still going to be negative though. So 3 plus 15 would be 18, just negative. And that's my answer. Instead of adding, I had to subtract because it said to subtract. Okay? And then you'll notice that these two, which should be examples 6 and 7, by the way, this is the same as this. The x is just changed to a -3. So we can just change the x to a -3, like that. And then 5 times -3 plus 24 is 9. Or, and I'm going to show you a second way of doing this that might make more sense to you. You can find h of -3 plus j of -3. So it doesn't matter if you have it together like this or as two separate things. These are the same thing, guys. So then I could go find h of -3. Well, h of x is 7x plus 15. So that would be 7 times -3 plus 15. Plus, I'm going to plug -3 in for j. So -2 times -3 plus 9. And then I'm going to find those two answers. So 7 times -3 plus 15 is -6. Plus -2 times -3 plus 9 is 15. Well, guess what, guys? -6 plus 15 is still 9. So you get the same answer no matter which way you do it. This way looks like it takes more steps, and it does, but this way is a little bit harder to understand. You have to realize that this matches this. And you have to have already done this as a step. Okay, now let's do the next one with k and h. Well, look, it's k minus h, just like this was. So I could just plug in -6 to my answer. Kind of like I did on the last one. So -2 times -6 minus 18. Awesome. Or you can do it the same way I did the bottom of the other one. You can do k of -6 and figure out what that is, minus whatever h of -6 is. So k of -6 is 5 times -6 plus 3, or minus 3. So you're just taking the -6 and plugging it in for x. Minus h is 7 times -6 plus 15. Okay, I'm going to circle my minus in between to remember it for later, but I'm going to do these two parts first. So I'm going to make this one number, and I'm going to make this one number, and then I'm going to subtract those two numbers. So 5 times -6 minus 3. Is -33 minus 7 times -6 plus 15. -27. And some of you will remember that this basically becomes a plus. So we're really doing -33 plus 27, which, look at that, is -6. You get the same answer we did up here. Or you guys can leave it like this in your calculator if you want. Just be careful because this is minus. So I'm going to hit minus and then -27. -6. You get the same thing either way. Okay? Basically, when it gives you a number in parentheses, you plug it into that function. So the function that matches the letter out front. So this one got plugged into F, this one got plugged into G. And then you can add those two answers together if you want. You just have to plug this one into F, this one into G, and then add them together. Okay? So if you have two separate things, you have to do h of -3 and figure out that number, and then j of -3 and figure out that number, and then add them together, or subtract them, or it could even ask you to multiply them for that sake,